Hello students, you are welcome to another edition of Edu 252 Chemistry Methods. I am your facilitator, Dr. Mrs. Morilat Jumoke Afolabi. In today's lesson, which is lesson number 2 on our program, you are going to be taught the methods of teaching. You know, in any organization or any environment, you need to be taught how to do some things. And as a teacher, you need to know the techniques by which you are going to teach your students. So in today's lesson, we are going to discuss the methods of teaching science in general and the method of teaching chemistry in particular. There are several methods of teaching. We have lecture method, we have a excursion method, we have inquiry method, we have demonstration method, discussion methods. But for the purpose of today's lesson, we are going to take some of them and discuss about them. And I urge you to sit back, relax, and enjoy your lesson. At the end of this lesson, you are expected to be able to define some methods of teaching science, discuss the advantages and disadvantages of the teaching methods, and apply some of the methods to the teaching of chemistry. There are several teaching methods in teaching science, but for today's lesson, we are going to discuss the lecture method, problem-centered method, and excursion method. Lecture method. This method involves presentation of ideas and concepts by the teacher. The teacher comes to the class full of concepts, full of facts, armed with so many things, and he starts the lesson by just telling you all he knows about a fact or some facts. Or he may ask you questions during the lesson, and he may not. The teacher does most of the talking. He's the alpha and omega. He's the one that says everything, that knows everything. Lecture method. While the pupils remain passive, the pupils will be there listening and taking notes. This method has so many advantages. Advantages of lecture method. The teacher covers enough ground within a short time. That means when you have a concept or you have a syllabus, when you use lecture method, you discover that you'll be able to cover more grounds. You cover more than enough grounds at a shorter time. Then it saves time because you cover more than enough, and it is cost effective. You are not using any teaching aids, you are not using any material, you are not buying anything. It encourages students to take notes. That is why as you are talking as a teacher, the student will be taking notes, and it encourages independent studies because the student on their own will be able to study on their own when you use lecture method. But when you have advantages of a particular method, there are likely to be disadvantages of that method. The disadvantages of lecture methods includes because it renders the learners passive. That is, they will just sit in the class and be looking at the teacher. Does not develop them critically to think. They will not think critically as learners because you are the omega there. You are the one telling them all the facts. And it involves only sense of hearing. They are not practicalizing anything. You are not demonstrating anything to them. They only listen to you. It does not meet varied needs of mixed ability groups in a larger group. Even though the advantage of a lecture method is that it enables you to teach a larger group or a large class. But at the same time, where you have mixed ability, you discover that you will not be able to meet the needs of all these students in that class. Learners become restless and they are destructive. It encourages rote learning because they will just cram whatever you teach them. So you can see that a lecture method has advantages and disadvantages. Then what will you do now to make lecture method effective? What you are supposed to do is to involve your students by asking them questions. You'll be asking questions in the class to make sure that they are participating in the class. You can also combine lecture method with demonstration and discussion methods so that you'll be able to impact in the students all the necessary things that are needed, and they will be able to, it will involve other senses in their body, because they will hear, they will see when you are demonstrating, and when you are discussing they can ask you questions. Another method we are going to consider in this lesson is excursion method. Excursion methods, for some people they call it field trips, they call it visits, whatever you call it. The purpose of excursion is to carry your student from the classroom outside the school so that they can learn the topics or concepts that ordinarily you cannot teach in your classroom. And those concepts may involve carrying machines, going to industry, and that is why they need to be taken outside the school for discussion. Even though we said that this is another good method of teaching, it has its own advantages and disadvantages. The advantages of these methods involves the positive attitude. That is, it creates a positive attitude in the learner towards science, because when they see real life thing and they see the application of things, the application of principles, the concepts in industry and commerce, they will be able to remember. So it gives learner first-hand information, because as a teacher, when you come to the class and you teach them that the concept of let's say mole ratio, when you teach them mole ratio, you know that they will not be able to understand unless you take them to a practical place where they can see where mole ratio is applied. Activities which cannot be carried out in the classroom is possible when you take them for excursion. It develops interest in some professions. That is, the student will develop interest in some professions. When they go to Coca-Cola, they may want to become an engineer that will be repairing machines for them in the industry. It develops interest it involves many of the senses, like I said, of the learner. It builds student and teacher-student relationship. It is a team spirit. It has a team spirit, and it makes the student to cooperate. But like I said, there are so many disadvantages too that are coupled with these methods of teaching. Disadvantages of excursion method includes it is difficult to plan and execute, because if you are taking your children outside your classroom or outside the school, you must make sure that you are prepared, you plan. If you don't plan, you will fail. And also, this method is very expensive. You will look for the money to transport them, you will look for materials that you go with them, and it is time consuming. The lesson that you have done within 40 minutes in your classroom, when you take them outside, it can take you days. There is also fear of danger or accidents when you carry somebody else's children out of school. So now, what will you do before, what you are supposed to do before, during, and after excursion? Number one, you plan for the excursion before you carry it out. Before you carry somebody's children out, you tell the students, the principal, the parents, identify the concept you want to teach that is difficult for you to teach in the class. Then visit the site before the excursion. You organize vehicle that will carry the children there, and you obtain permission from the place you are taking them to. You cannot just carry a student to a place when you have not taken permission from that place. You now fix time. After taking permission, you fix time with them, that is with the organization where you are carrying the children to. Inform students and tell them to inform their parents. You also tell the principal, you let the principal know of your mission of carrying these children outside the classroom or outside your classroom. Arrange with other teachers in case you need support. Instruct students on what they should take along during excursion. You are taking them for excursion, they may need food, they may need water. You have to instruct them to carry some of this along. Then you instruct the student the do's and the don'ts at the site. When they get there, they should not be tampering with the machines. They should be quiet and listen to what they are going to tell them. Encourage them to pay attention and take notes. After the field trip, you engage them in class discussion, because whatever that must have been taught in the field, they must come back to the class to discuss, so that at the end of the day, it will not be a wasted journey. Another method is a problem-centered method. This method allows students to find solutions to problems by themselves. That is, you have a problem, you can see there is a problem with that question mark you are seeing on the screen. Now, what is the problem? When you are able to identify the problem, the student will now go out to find that solution to that problem by themselves. So, and when they do that, the learning becomes more meaningful to them, and it will make them find solution to whatever problem that you pose to them. Now, but like I said, there is no method that has advantages without disadvantages. The advantages of problem-centered method is that you equip the learner. It equips the learner to be the owner of his knowledge. He is the one that has gone to find solution to the problem, so he becomes the owner of that knowledge, because whatever he has found out will be his own. It leads him to become problem solver, and it is student-centered, inculcates manipulative skills, and facilitates retention, recall, and transfer of knowledge. And students are more interested when they are left alone to do whatever they want to do. Disadvantages of a problem-centered method. It is time consuming. Less content is covered, because by the time you have students to go out, they will go out and they will be playing there, you may not know. And apart from that, it takes a lot of time. The effective teacher supervision is difficult for a large class size. When you have a large number of students in your class and you give them this problem-solving method of finding out things, that is, inquiry method, you discover that you cannot manage them, you cannot supervise them, and it is costly. A lot of money is involved. Students may not be serious to achieve much knowledge unless seriously supervised. Now, we have treated 3 methods of teaching science. I want to leave you with an assignment before the next lesson. Try and find out about other methods of teaching before next lesson. In this lesson, we have learned about lecture method, excursion method, problem-centered method of teaching science. In conclusion, the method of teaching adopted by the teacher is what determines the success of such teaching. There are many methods from which a teacher could choose, but none of the method could be regarded as the best. You can't regard most of these lectures as the best. In some cases, the teacher would need to combine 2 or more methods in order to achieve the objectives of the lesson. Until next time, when I will come your way,